at this point to try and understand what's playing out in West Asia. What is it, in your opinion? And do you believe that a resolution can be arrived at fairly quickly, or it's going to be very tough to arrive at? What's the initial sense you're getting?
Well, first, good morning. And I'm not going to speculate on what sort of agreement could be made because we've seen so many fits and starts of agreements, cessation of hostilities, and a resumption of hostilities over the past month or so. But I think the fact that both parties are engaged and willing to have a ceasefire in the first place, I think that speaks to the fact that we're directionally moving towards some sort of diplomatic resolution, but there's certainly a high likelihood of bumps along the way. So we obviously had a very, very strong session yesterday across the rest of the world, from Asia all the way to the US, and close of trade earlier today. I think what we're seeing happening right now is just reflecting a little bit of increased uncertainty about the path forward with respect to what diplomatic negotiations could look like. Part of it, I think, is also just exhaustion after such a strong rally. It's encouraging that you're not seeing markets roll over. You're not seeing crude prices spike as a result of the question marks that are starting to appear. So I think it signals that investor sentiment has just been so washed out, positioning has been washed out, that a lot of investors are just taking a cautiously optimistic approach to what the next 2 weeks could look like.
The knee-jerk reaction, Matt, yesterday aside, do you think that at least in the near term, a bottom could have been made for world markets? I mean, not just India here, because it seems like both parties, whenever the resolution comes in, whenever they call off truce, but at least it seems that, they're willing to reach a resolution.
Yeah, Aisha, that's a good point. And that's how I've positioned portfolios right now. I think there is still a small probability that you could see an escalation. Ground troops of the US going into Iran would certainly, I think, cause a lower low for the overall markets, but I think the probabilities of that are starting to decline. And so when I'm looking at making investments, because I've raised a lot of cash heading into this conflict and at the start of this conflict, it's been very thoughtful about where are there parts of this market that have durable secular growth trends that are backing up earnings that aren't going to be impeded as a result of near-term dislocations in energy or source materials like fertilizers, et cetera. And I think those are the parts of the market that investors across the world should be looking at potentially checking off their shopping lists. And of course, you want to wade into those positions, put a little bit on, and then continue to add if it looks like the market is making higher lows and potentially higher highs. But I do suspect that we're going to be in a pretty volatile trading range. But unless we see a total breakdown in this diplomatic path, I think we can have some level of confidence that maybe we have seen the lows, but you certainly can't say that with certainty.
Matt, hi, morning. Do you think the markets are reading the entire ceasefire properly, because they're not reacting the way, and especially the oil and the gold assets are not reacting the way how equity is reacting?
Yeah, I've been a little bit surprised. Even at the end of the U.S. trading session today, you saw headlines coming in that Iran was saying that we had violated terms of the ceasefire, but you didn't see markets waver at all. And I think that's a signal of just the strength of the rally that we had today. It was broad. There was good volume. And so I think that's a signal that you became so washed out across a number of different technical metrics that there was power to this. And the fact that you're not seeing it roll over like we've seen in these sorts of reversals over the past month, I think that sends a signal that the market itself is also, I think, biased a little bit towards the fact that we're likely going to see perhaps an off-ramp. But again, I think the fact that you're not seeing more decisive, I'd say ignoring of the sort of truce question marks, I think it's still a signal that there is uncertainty that remains. And that's why it's hard to tell investors this is the time to buy. I think you have to be very thoughtful about what it is you want to start wading into, and you want to average your way into the positions that you want to be adding into your portfolios right now, really leaning into quality and perhaps looking to pick up a little bit of beta if it looks like there's durability to this rally right now.
Well, that's the part, right? For most investors, it's become such a tactical market, so difficult to maneuver. But Matt, great to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's